Hi, everyone. This is Walt Bayless. Today, we are blessed. We have on the show a successful Shark Tank entrepreneur, someone who actually got the funding from Shark Tank, not backed by one or two, but all three sharks. He's gone on to create the ISR training system and the Swish Sales Academy. He's a worldwide leader in the sales organization. He's been Entrepreneur of the Year. He is none other than Ryan Tuckwood. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. That was an intro. Thank you very much.
I always want to give somebody, something that you can play as you come out of the bedroom in the morning. This is Ryan Tuckwood. Get my cereal ready. This is everything we need to get started for the day.
That's going to be my ringtone moving forward, I think.
Fantastic, mate. I'm thrilled to hear it. Absolutely thrilled. Now, mate, you had incredible breakthrough with the Shark Tank success. And of course, that was able to rocket you forward. But that's not where it all started from you. I was reading your bio. You came over, you moved to Australia from England. You were a broke sales professional sleeping on the floor with 31 cents in your pocket. I had the theme song from The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith playing in my head as I read through that. Mate, how did this journey all come together for you?
Well, what you just said there is absolutely spot on. And I guess it did start many years before that, just to kind of frame and put everything into context. I think when people hear the word salesman or salesperson, they think extrovert, somebody that's kind of larger than life, loves being on stage. And that couldn't be further from the truth than me. I was an introvert, or I am still an introvert by nature. I heard recently from my parents that I used to spend many times under a table when we'd go out into a social environment, and I'd take my shoes off and not talk to other human beings. And then I got a job as a mechanical maintenance engineer. So I did study engineering, and I did that for 8 years. So
wow.
I was very much a 12-hour days, 12-hour nights, work by myself, never speak to anybody else, and be very meticulous at that job. And I was very good at it. I'm very process and formula driven. But then I got to the age of 27, almost 28, where I started to realize that maybe that wasn't me fulfilling my potential, and there might have been something more out there for me. At the time, I had no idea what it was. But with the Australian government and the way they are for backpackers, I had like an urgency imposed on me at the age of 27 that if I didn't move over here by the age of 30, I would have missed that opportunity. Yeah. So I gave up everything that I had back home, houses, cars, girlfriend of 5 years, and I jumped on a plane by myself and moved over to Australia, Sydney originally, and then I travelled the whole breadth of the coast, and I ended up on the beautiful Gold Coast.
Nice.
And that would kind of, I guess, bring to what you said there initially, was that I was a failing salesperson. Long story short, I struggled to find employment. You can only work for one organization for 6 months on that visa. And the only job I could get was in a call center. So I ended up on the phones, $300 a day.
Wow. Terrible job for an introvert.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And I always say, I don't care how confident you are as an individual, when you get 298 people a day tell you to piss off in no uncertain terms, that is going to affect you. And it certainly did for me. So I can go into more of that in a second, but that's where it all started, my sales journey, I guess.
Wow.
Falling into the call center.
Now, you are now the co-founder with your partner, Jack, of the irstraining.com.au, which, of course, the main product of that is the Swish Sales Academy, which is teaching sales techniques, teaching people how to succeed in sales. And obviously that's come from that hard starting ground for you, where, your story is, as we said, sleeping on the floor with 31 cents to your name. You had to make it. Like, there was literally no other choice. And is that the foundation of now what you've created with the Swish Sales Academy?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, me and Jack are polar opposites, but essentially the program was originally designed for people like me, for people that didn't want to be tarred with the brush of being a salesperson. There is a stigma in this industry, whichever way we look at it. And for me, it all started, and I remember it so clearly. It was one night when I was sleeping on the bathroom floor. I was actually on a blow-up Lilo, and one night that Lilo just popped on me, and in the middle of the night, about 2 a.m., and I just went crash into the floor. I'm laying on these cold tiles thinking, what am I doing? And this was about 3 months into my cold call center journey. And I remember going in the next day to the office, And Jack, who's now my business partner, was my sales manager at the time. And I actually quit. I said to him, mate, I can't do this. Sales isn't for me. It's really affecting me. It's affecting my relationship with my now wife, Alicia, who's stuck with me. She's still with me now. And I said, this isn't for me. And the words that Jack said to me next literally changed my life. He just said to me, Ryan, you haven't even tried. And there's me doing 7 a.m. till 7 p.m., going in on Saturdays, dialing $300 a day. I've always been a good employee. I've got good work ethic. But he said, you haven't tried. You haven't truly tried to master the art of sales and negotiation. So he sent me a bit of a challenge, and he set me a challenge for the next 60 days to really immerse myself in this craft. And with nothing left to lose, I'm quite competitive anyway. I did that. And what I learned from studying all of the old school greats, your Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, Tom Hopkins, Ron Willingham, was that there was 5 core fundamentals to selling or it's just communication. That's all it is. Yeah. Number 1 is, how do you introduce yourself to another human being? How do you make a great winning first impression on everybody? Number 2 is, how do you open people up and discover people's needs, even if they don't know they're there? How can you open every personality type up? Number 3 is, how do you present in a way that the other person understands and they consume information? 4 was, how do you ask for the business? So finding out that there's 3 different levels: low level, mid level, and financial level commitments that we should be asking for. I was always asking in the wrong order. And then number 5 was objection handling and mindset. So how do you deal with a level of rejection that is undoubtedly going to come in life, not even just this industry, in business in general, and control your mindset around that? And when I realized there was 5 core fundamentals and that there was a process started to fall into place, and if you did things in the right order, you would get better results more often than not. And I just had this penny drop moment that all of a sudden sales was like engineering, and sales is a process. And I'm like, I can now do this. And I literally went from 21st on a sales board of 21 to first in 5 weeks. It didn't take me 60 days.
Wow.
And that was my journey. So yeah, the Swish Sales Academy is 100% based on those core fundamentals, but obviously it's over 200 hours worth of content now.
Wow, that's fantastic. So from an engineer's perspective, when that was laid out in front of you like a blueprint, and it was step 1, then step 2, then step 3, your mind switched gear and you said, whoa, hang on, this is not some mystical, ethereal moment. This is not something that I just have to make up on the spot. I can logically follow a series of steps and achieve better results. And they came.
100%. And they came rapid as well. And the word you used there as well was logical. I'm a very logical person. I'm everything just has to make sense for me. And it was as easy as that. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it is from a mindset perspective. It was easy as going in the next day and going, am I better than what I was yesterday? And don't get me wrong, I wasn't the top salesperson overnight, but all of a sudden I could keep somebody on the phone for an extra 30 seconds. I could handle more objections than I did yesterday. And people were opening up more to me, and I'm like, this is working. I mean, it's always progress, not perfection. And that gave me enough will every day to keep going. And then eventually you just become a new person. The stories in my head were different. I was telling myself I could do it as opposed to not being able to do it.
Wow.
And now exactly the same in business. I've realized business is a formula as well. And so now I'm just always looking for formulas in whatever new challenge I take on board.
Yeah, nice, because that helps your brain process the way forward and the way to achieve. Because there's so many things in inverted commas out there that take our attention and take our focus. If you find the blueprint in whatever the thing is, then you've got a structured process to be able to move forward, which I think is amazing. Ryan, some of the people that will be listening to the podcast, they might be on the treadmill or they're in the car on the way to work. They might be entrepreneurs. They run their own organization, or they might be sales target driven people themselves. And I know that everybody is a salesperson, but we typically find the 2 categories: introvert, extrovert. You get the salesperson, as you said, the Jack on stage with the presence, and you find the quiet, introverted person. Do you now think that the process that you've put together with the Swish Sales Academy can benefit both camps?
Yeah. And initially, I think it was very much geared for people like me. It was about giving people confidence, giving them motivation, helping them write goals. But over the years now, we've definitely been able to take people that have also had 25, 30 years sales experience and show them something that is pertinent to today's market.
Yeah, right.
It's a deeper level understanding to sales. I mean, people always say, well, what's different about your program? And I always say the different is the intent. The intent is actually not to teach you to sell. The intent is to teach you how to understand whether you have an opportunity to sell. So
wow, that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. And that starts here. It's your job is purely to understand whether you can help the other person that you're speaking to. And then if you can, great. If you can't, you now have a level of integrity that has to play out, and you let people go and you wish them all the best. And that's what Swish is: selling with integrity and selling honestly. So I've probably been surprised, if I'm being brutally honest, at the amount of truly experienced professionals that have come through our program and seen drastic results. I thought they might just go, oh yeah, it's similar to what I've done before. I've heard that before. But I think we've been able to put a real logical spin on why people buy. So it's more about buying behaviors than selling behaviors.
I like it. When you were talking, like I was thinking the same thing, that the typical extroverted salesperson would benefit as well by not just running at a bull at a gate, but by following a process, still keeping that same personality, not talking about changing that in any way, but stop that run at the gate kind of mentality, which, I'm in that camp. That's what we used to do, right? It's more about following a logical series of steps and bringing your personality along with it. So I can definitely see that the results would come. Now, mate, at what time did you and Jack say to yourself, hey, we're onto something here, and then, get the Shark Tank funding and create what you have today?
Well, I think firstly, it's probably important to understand the original business model. So the reason the business was created is because Jack actually retired at 22 years old. So that's a whole different story. He left the other company, and as he left the old organization, new owners came in and they took over, and they were, how do I phrase this? And they were very ruthless business owners. It was all about making money. For all intents and purposes, they weren't ethical. They didn't have many morals. I'm comfortable to say that these days. And that's where I had the penny drop. I'm like, hold on, this isn't right. This doesn't sit well with me. And then in 2014, we created the business, but we really wanted to give back. And I realized that if I can be trained to be successful in this industry, anybody can. So what we created was a recruitment model that was totally free of charge. So we had, we would put 2-day sales training. We call them boot camps now, but they were just sales training classes on. Where we would get job seekers, give them free of charge training. And if we got them a job at the end of it, we would take $99 a week out of their wage for the first 10 weeks. If they didn't get a job, they just got some free training.
Perfect.
So business owners, totally free of charge. Job seekers, totally free of charge unless you got a job. And then it was just $1,000 over 10 weeks. So our incentive was to keep you in work as well. So we gave you 10 weeks of digital training. So I'd say probably about 2 years into that, we'd placed nearly 2,500 people, which was far outweighing any recruitment agency in Australia. And we'd saved the government over $17 million in Centrelink payments. Was a big...
Wow, amazing.
Jack loved numbers. And I remember he came at me with that figure and I'm like, wow, okay, this is working.
That's so cool.
And then I didn't decide to go on Shark Tank. Jack decided to go on Shark Tank. As an introvert, that's not an arena you decide to put yourself in. So Jack applied, and he said to me one day, what do you think we'd be like on Shark Tank? I'm like, oh, well, I think you'd be great. But I think, do we need to do that? And he goes, well, it doesn't really matter because we've been accepted.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So for somebody that's at that stage still hadn't really spoken on stage properly only a couple of years ago, I'm very comfortable in the training arena, but to stand on stage in front of 200, 300 people or more, or let alone going to a Shark Tank, that was anxiety heaven just there. So
yeah, right.
So yeah, that was definitely his decision initially, but it's one that has definitely paid dividends as well. So we knew that we had credibility. We knew we were post revenue. We had 2.5, nearly 3 years worth of proof of concept that the training was working, and we'd also created a digital version of the training which was also working. So we were relatively confident going into it. But again, you just don't know what happens in that environment. Fortunately for us, we did secure the investment.
And from that, like, it's not just the money from that exposure as well, is it? It's the mentorship that comes with it. Were you able to grow as a result of that mentorship, not just the investment, but the actual strategic direction that the Sharks provided? Were you able to expand because of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, I was very naive. I mean, I'm 37 years old now. I didn't own a business until ISR training. I now own a real estate investment company with Jack and a hair and beauty salon as well. So I've gone from no businesses to 3 businesses in 6-7 years. So we went on the show, and then I thought you walk around the back, they turn the cameras off, and they give you the money. I'm aware of due diligence and all of this sort of stuff. So, yes, we've grown. If you want the bottom line, we've grown 300% in the 12 months since the money hit. So yes,
wow, that's amazing.
What we're very naive to, but we thought we were being strategic to at the start, was we undervalued our business massively to induce the investment. We didn't need the money, and I always hope that comes across the right way. We didn't. Yep. We were growing 100% year on year already. But what I believe we're probably 5 years ahead of where we would have been if we'd have continued to do it ourselves.
Unreal.
And that's through their mentorship, their guidance. Like, they've all been here to the office. Andrew's used our training over in the States with his team. Once he saw that work, they signed off the due diligence process. Yeah. Just the contacts that they can give us as well. Like, all of a sudden you get it. You can see a few of them behind me. Like that's not by chance that we've got those big enterprise organizations just after they came on board. You know, it gave us a level of credibility like never before in a tarnished industry.
Cool. That's so cool. So Ryan, as we're talking to our listeners right now, the people that are engaged with us, we've got somebody who's sitting in the car, as I said, on the treadmill, and they might be heading to a sales presentation this afternoon. Let's see if we can help that person and give them a couple of things that they can take with them into that meeting. Somebody that might be feeling a bit nervous, somebody that's always seems to struggle when it comes to asking for the money at the end. What are some of the things that we might be able to grab someone and say, hey, take this with you into the meeting?
Yeah, okay. First and foremost, I'd always say emotionally detach yourself away from trying to make the sale. If your sole intention is to try and make a sale today, you're going to feel apprehensive because you're setting yourself up for a fall. So I know that's easier said than done, but if you can go into the mindset that my only job is to find out whether I can assist them or not, you will ask more questions, you will ask better questions. So the job is to discover people's wants and needs, or even though that's a bit cliche, not be thinking about what product or service are you going to push at the end of it, because they'll see it coming. So recognizing that the consumer is more educated than ever before should make you talk to them like an educated individual. So we normally go through 5 to 7 discovery questions, we call it, straight after our introduction. Just prior to getting that, I can give you a real quick 4-step process if it helps on how to frame any conversation. So if I was meeting you, I'd say, Walt, nice to meet you. Thank you very much for giving me your time today. So the first thing I always do is acknowledge them giving me their time. Shows a level of appreciation, shows a bit more about your character. So the acronym, by the way, is ANOT, A-N-O-T. So acknowledge or appreciate their time. Then we lead into N, which is naturally after X amount of years in this industry. One thing I've certainly understood is that everybody's situation is different. So I make them feel unique. I let them know that I've been doing this for X amount of years and I'm building credibility in my character and the business in one fell swoop. Then we go to O. We'll say, obviously, for me to understand whether we can assist you or not, that bit has to be in there. Obviously, for me to understand whether we can assist you or not, I'm going to need to ask you a few basic questions to ascertain your wants and needs. And then I'll finish with T, which is typically this conversation, this phone call, this meeting will always go one of 2 ways. And then I let them know in no uncertain terms, sometimes I don't have the answers for you. So if at the end of this consultation, I don't believe that I have a product or service that can assist you, is it okay that I wish you all the best and maybe refer you to somebody that can help? Not many salespeople are brave enough to ask that question. It was an absolute game changer for me. It really lowers sales defenses. And what it means is they're now truly engaging your value proposition. So they're listening to you as opposed to just waiting for you to get to the end to try and sell them. So typically this conversation will go one of 2 ways. If I don't believe we can assist you, is it okay that we wish each other all the best and maybe I'll refer somebody that can help you? And they'll wait for the yes. And alternatively, if at the end of this consultation, I do believe we have some products or services that can assist you, is it equally okay that I explain to you how they work and you can make an educated decision whether you would like to move forward or not?
Brilliant. I love it.
That's framing. And then, so that will be literally right at the start of every single presentation. And then the second part is then to have your 5 to 7 discovery questions ready to go. And the first question should always be, why did you accept this meeting today? Why did you want to sit down with me today? What do you know about my organization? Real big, broad, open-ended questions that you can't control the answer to. And then we're going to get more specific as we go. So I go primary, secondary, tertiary level questioning. And just so I don't want to take up heaps of your time going through this, but hopefully it's valuable.
I just want to keep you talking. I don't want you to give away everything from IRS training, isrtraining.com.au. But man, mate, keep talking. It's awesome.
Okay, no. So because then what you've done when you're gathering all this information, you've got if you've done 5 to 7 questions, and you've gone primary, secondary, tertiary, then all of a sudden you've got all this intelligence, and then you simply go, well, as I said to you earlier, typically this conversation usually goes one of two ways. I think based around the information you've shared with me so far, we would have a couple of options. Would you mind if I share them with you? So you've now asked twice for permission to present. So you're now permission-based selling as opposed to interruption-based selling, which Brilliant. Totally changes the dialogue, the internal dialogue they have. It will remove your fear because they've asked you to do it. And I always say the only way you know to present your product is if you know you can help them. Like I believe, and this took me a while to believe, but I truly believe that if I was to do a consultation with you and you're struggling with, I can't afford it, let me think about it. People are saying they want to talk to their partner or send me some more information. I know I can help with that. So I'm doing you a disservice if I don't have the skills to get my product into your hands. But The only way I know that is by asking you the right questions.
I love it. I can completely see, even just with that introduction, Ryan, how you are able to take someone from their position in sales, doing well, doing poorly, wherever they find themselves, being able to then move them through in a structured way. I can completely see that. So your link is isrtraining.com.au. People can get some free training, can't they, if they go to the site?
They can, yeah. So there's heaps of free material online, and we've got a YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook. We've got everything. It's as a sneaky little gift for anybody listening to this as well. We do have a private Facebook group, which is usually kept for people that are in our online training program. But if your listeners or viewers would like to just search for it on Facebook, it's #Swish Movement. So it's just #Swish Movement. And then there's more free material in there with little videos and downloadable documents and so on and so forth. So
awesome. So if they apply to get in the group, tell them that you heard it on the Business and People podcast, and Ryan will give you access to that, which is really cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So, mate, now that you know what you know, you're mid-30s, married, you've got the businesses, going back to that young man who came across from England, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
I'd have just learned to sell earlier. Remove the word sell. I'd have just learned to communicate with human beings. I've been fortunate enough over the last few years to meet some really influential individuals. Anybody that's in the sales world will have heard of Grant Cardone before. I got to interview him a few weeks ago. Michael Lane from Success Resources. Some people that are real movers and shakers in the business world. And one of the common denominators is they know how to communicate their message and their value to another human being. I wish I'd have learned that as a teen, because there was something inside me it must have been there, but I wasn't around the right people to have it brought out. So I would have surrounded myself with people that have walked the road that I'm trying to go down first and foremost, and stopped listening to the people that hadn't. I know that, again, it's pretty cliche, and I hope it really does hit home, because my parents might listen to this one day, and I mean this in the most loving way possible, Mum and Dad, if you do listen to this, the day I stopped listening to you guys was the day that I actually became who I should have been, and I started to fulfill my potential. And that's not their fault. They didn't have that foresight. They hadn't lived this road. So they tell me to slow down. They tell me, Ryan, money won't make you happy, and you're gonna kill yourself and drive yourself into the ground, because they can't understand that I actually love what I do. Yeah. So I wish I'd have been around these people sooner, done more networking, but that came from having the confidence to network by being able to communicate. So I'd have learned to do this a lot younger.
That communication then is the core success principle for being able to move yourself forward. We've talked with other guests on the podcast, Ryan, that had that same kind of message about aligning yourself with people that had walked the path before you.
Yeah.
So if you took that forward in terms of advice to give, if you were standing on a stage, you had a room full of people in front of you, would that be your main message? Align yourself in a direction that you want to go and find a group of people that have a similar mindset. Would that be your core, or would you have a different message for it?
No, I think definitely try and find people that have a positive outlook on life, first and foremost. Because even if you have a really poor idea, they'll make you feel good about it initially.
Right. Which might just be enough to get you going.
Yeah, exactly right. Because the reality is we're procrastinating. I'm a procrastinator. I'm a procrastinator hiding behind the word that I'm a perfectionist.
Right. I think a lot of people can relate to that, man.
Perfectionists are broke people, right?
Yeah, right.
Because we never do anything. So I think if you can surround yourself with people that go, hey, just give it a go, which is what I did. But Jack was my catalyst, 100%.
Yeah.
I'd be still building this business if it wasn't for Jack 5 years in. So surround yourself with people that will actually support you, even if it might not be the right idea, but at least you're going to learn through those experiences, as opposed to those people that tell you to slow down and not do anything because it only highlights what they don't have the balls to do in the first place.
Yeah, sure.
That's why they do it. Is because don't you go and do that just in case you succeed. You make me look really bad for being an employee in my average job.
Yeah, right. So
that's horrible.
No, it's exactly right, because people are scared about making themselves look smaller if the people that are around them are getting bigger. So be careful of that. Take a caution. That's a really good advice. Mate, you referenced a whole bunch of material that Jack put in your hands when you were, that you had that pivotal moment. I'm going to be good at this. You referenced people like Brian Tracy and Jim Rohn and Dennis Waitley, Zig Ziglar, all of the kind of greats of that sales era. Are you a reader now? Are you still into the personal development?
Yeah, so my mantra in life now is always go to bed more educated than when you woke up.
Nice. So, I like that.
So yeah, it's literally, I've become fanatical about it. I've got 4 different mentors at the moment, aside from the Sharks. Obviously, they're business partners, but I class them as mentors as well. So I'm doing 3 different training courses at the moment, 2 of them in sales, 1 of them in psychology. I've got a public speaking coach. So yeah, I'm obsessed with it. I just think that's it. If we expect that from our clients, then that has to be me. I realized if I could do that I was studying for about half an hour a day in that 60-day stretching program that I told you earlier that Jack challenged me to do.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think, well, if I did this in 5 weeks, if I just do this every day of my life now, where the hell will I be in a few years?
Wow.
And that's where the investors have been really good as well. Like I look at Andrew Banks, who's obviously on our board now. He's in his mid to late 60s, I think, Andrew, maybe. And I remember saying to him when we first met him, I was like, why are you doing this? You obviously don't need us right now. And he goes, Ryan, I'm just curious. I just love learning new things. And I just thought, if he's still doing it, then
that's so cool.
Yeah. So always be a student and go to bed more educated than when you woke up.
I like that mantra. That's good. What are you reading right now, mate?
I'm reading The Speed of Trust again at the minute. Was one I had on this morning by Stephen Covey, if you heard of that.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, really, really good book. So I'm liking, so that's obviously Stephen Covey's son. I'm going through that at the minute. And then my focus at the moment is my public speaking education at the minute with a guy called Harry Singer.
Okay.
Harry Singer is actually Tony Robbins' public speaking coach.
There you go. You don't get much higher accolade than that. Mate, tell me something that people might find surprising about you.
They might find surprising about me. That if they've seen me on stage, they would be surprised probably to know that I actually hated it. That might be a really common one.
I probably would be surprised.
Because I masquerade very much so. So anybody that's done disc personality profiling, I'm a high C, masquerading as an I, and that will make sense to the listeners that have done that. And if you haven't, by the way, please study disc personality profiling from a sales capacity. Because it will change the game for you, the way you communicate with people.
And I think that's the key, isn't it? Being able to communicate better and just simply understanding the disc philosophy is something that's global these days. And it's such a great way for people to not clash, where they don't need to, be able to completely connect by aligning with the way the other people are, which is really cool.
Yeah,
so they would have hated that. You would have hated it that you've They would find it surprising that you hated being on stage. So what's your next goals for you, mate? If we had a 60-second challenge and we laid it out and we said, okay, we've got isrtraining.com.au, you've got all of these customers that you're looking after. What are the goals that you're setting for yourself? Where are you heading towards?
Yeah, for me individually or the business?
Go, both.
So for me individually is to obviously be the best father that I can be. I've got a 10-month-old baby boy, Maverick. So trying to balance that is a challenge. I don't think it is possible to balance it. I think you're either all a father or you're all at work, depending on what you're doing. So if I can find the silver bullet to doing that, then that's key. On a personal level, my 60-second challenge for myself next year is to speak on stage in front of 5,000 people. That would be something that would really say to me that, hey, you've made a generational shift as an individual that I can then pass on to others. As an organization, the aim is very clear, is to impact 1 million lives and to get the Swish movement global. We've got people using the Swish program on 5 continents at the moment, but we've never pushed into anywhere apart from Australia and New Zealand. So moving to the UK, as in picking the business up and targeting the UK and the US is what's in the next 2 to 3 years.
Brilliant.
So yeah, they're the big, hairy, audacious goals at the moment.
Fantastic, mate. I when you're on stage in front of those 5,000 people, send me a ticket, mate. I'd love to be in the audience. So you mentioned that you had mentors at the moment, and do you have a formal relationship with those mentors? As in, do you have a weekly meeting with a business coach? Do you have someone that you have a formal, or is it just a matter of send an email every now and again and check in?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think I got confused by mentors at the start. I thought that mentors were people that you have to pay for and you go through a formalized training program with. A couple of people that I class as mentors, I don't pay them. We just catch up for a coffee once a month, and I just brainstorm with them. I mean, they're openly honest with me and saying they using the time to learn about sales with me. But some of them are a lot older, 50s and their 60s, and it's just about nutting out a few ideas with them. So a mentor can be somebody, again, that's just been where you want to go. As a listener, maybe to add value, I was very surprised at the people that I asked to meet up and say, hey, look, I'm really struggling with this at the moment. I can see that you've had a success in this area. Would you mind sparing 10, 15 minutes and me just picking your brain? I don't think I've ever had anybody say no to that question.
Wow, that's so cool.
So the key there is just ask. And if they say no, there's other people out there. I mean, I do a lot of these types of things now, which I never used to do. And it turns out a lot of them are done by 17, 18-year-olds. And I think, wow, that is amazing. I wish I had the guts to do that at 17, 18 years old, but I'll never say no to it. If somebody that wants to progress and move forward, I'll always make time for it, because I wish I'd have had the guts to do that in the early stages of business. So
that's so cool. Man. That's so cool. Yeah. I'm so respectful of your time, Ryan, and I'm so grateful that you've been able to jump on with everything else that you've got going on. Can I ask you one last question? As a mentor for anybody that's listening, somebody comes to you and says, Ryan, I really admire what you guys have done. I'm just started my own business. So maybe that's somebody who's in that startup phase. I've got my idea, I'm starting everything. I'm working 20 hours a day. What advice would you give to that very early entrepreneur that you've learned from being able to set up with Jack and yourself, setting everything that you've put into place? What advice would you give to that person who's just getting started, who really wants to go out there and make something different for themselves happen?
Yeah, first and foremost, focus on revenue generating tasks. A disproportionate amount of your time needs to be focused on revenue generating tasks, not the fluffy marketing collateral, business cards, building a website. Focus on meeting with your prospects, speaking with your prospects, and finding out what the market wants. As a perfectionist, taking the edge off, taking that 20% of perfection off your expectations. Let your consumer dictate to you what is right and what is wrong, and what's working and what's not working. So I think that will be first and foremost. If you're not we always say, without sales, business fails. So if you're not driving revenue, it doesn't matter how good your business is, you're not going to survive. And secondary to that, you can't sell a secret. So you need to get as many people to know about it as quickly as possible. Yeah. And then the final part, and it's more of a Gary Vee message, but it really kind of resonates with me. It's be super, super patient with growth. In the early days, I think so many business owners are focused on profit. And I know we were, when the reality is profit doesn't matter. Survival matters in the early days. And I get that we need to fund things and pay for things. So, but take as little as you can in the early days, especially if you're looking to raise capital. Everything needs to go back into the business.
Nice.
So we're very committed to that. And we know that for the next 4, 5, 6 years, we're not taking a dividend out of this organization. We're on a very small base salary, and I'm happy to admit that. I'm comfortable with that because I know what impact this will have in the long run. And when you impact that many lives and add value, then the natural byproduct will be money. So if you can be super macro patient and then micro day-to-day, just working your ass off, but on revenue generating tasks, I think that should make a difference.
I love it. Ryan, thank you so much, mate. I think that's such sound advice. I really absolutely think that nails it for anybody that's getting started, anybody that finds themselves anywhere. So thank you so much. And again, guys, it's isrtraining.com.au. Let me say that properly, isrtraining.com.au. You can touch base with Ryan. You can get some free training, and he's made that Facebook group available because you're listening on the podcast as well. Get in touch. This person, Ryan, is somebody that has goals, has come from an incredibly different background, and has succeeded with creating an amazing organization, getting funding globally, touching base with worldwide mentors, and impacting thousands and thousands and thousands of people and helping their businesses succeed. Ryan Tuckwood, thank you so much for your time. It is really an honor to have you on the show, and I'm so grateful, and thanks very much for sharing the message.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, and good luck to everybody out there. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan. You're amazing. Cheers, bud.
Mate.